What's going on, you beautiful people? It's Australia here. We are back with another GM ranked Joust tier list. It has been a long while since I've done one of these. Usually I start by saying what's going on, my name's Trelly, if you don't know me, that sort of thing. By now you guys probably know who I am. If you don't, I play a lot of ranked everything, ranked duel, ranked conquest, ranked joust. GM more often than not in most of those. Not so much conquest anymore. I usually don't play that enough, but I played a lot on stream. Either way, I've been around the block a bit, and I usually do these with other people, but I'm going to see how quickly and how effectively I can rapid fire off one of these tier lists by myself. Just to note, sometimes when there is a couple other voices in here, you know, like, for example, I could say, I think Outposh sucks, he's C, and then someone would say, he's actually pretty decent, I think he's B, and having that extra insight can be useful. So some of these things can go up and down based on what I say. Just take the placement, not so much as face value, and more so the explanation behind it, and we should be fine. So if you want to read these tiers and figure out what they are, definitely check those out. Before you skip to the end to check out the full tier list, I would appreciate a like. And if you want to see, you know, if you want to know why something's the way it was and didn't think my explanation was that good, or if you think I'm wrong, definitely let me know in the comment section below. But let's begin. Achilles is always going to be extremely strong, with double tank meta back and better than ever. For a bit we saw some hunters, double guardians. Either way, if there's two tanks, Achilles is going to get value. The execute, just too strong. Agni, I think the definition of this tier, has some bad matchups into things like Ares, doesn't have a CC immune ult, forces you into Magi, so you have to play back, but has a lot of range, very solid space control, gonna be pretty solid there. AMC, disgusting, always gonna be pretty on top of the meta, even into an Ares, things like that. He can build tanky, he can build full shred. There's just so much that is good about AMC in a meta like this. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but, you know, he's always around, so I think he's going to be just fine in that regard. Outposh, definitely going to go right down to C tier. I know this says can win in some matchups, but you have to be picking Outposh into double healer, and you still need a crazy amount of peel. I definitely have played him, and it works. But if you're taking this as at face value, saying, hey, I'm bronze, silver, gold, trying to rank up, I would stay away from anything underneath A tier. For some reason I scrolled at some point. Amaterasu, that's an interesting one. This is something that I haven't seen much, and I think definitely has the potential to be here, but because she's not getting played right now, I don't think we have the information to put her any higher, so I think I'm going to leave her where she is, at A tier. On her, as far as hunters go right now, they're in a better spot than they ever have been. Besides last patch, 9.5 hunters were OP, 9.6 or 9.5 bonus, whatever you want to call it. Hunters are a little bit worse. Honor's definitely great. Not OP though. Not running the meta. Not the best hunter. We see a lot of the AMCs. People with CC more often than not. I just don't think he hard carries. He doesn't have an attack speed stim. There's no attack speed buff on the map, and the build path he has doesn't get him too much. So you need tanks to provide buffs for him. Anubis, I'm going to say, has some matchups. I do think brings more than Outposh. Outposh is essentially just anti-heal, whereas Anubis, you can say, hey, we're going to build a lot of CC, focus down this tank, maybe sunder them, things like that. Anubis can still give value. Very easy to kill, like Outposh. These picks are very similar in that regard, but I still think Anubis gets more value. If you think I'm wrong, you know, tell me below. Alquang, this is a tough one for me because Alquang is decent in a double tank, but just brings no clear. Like, absolutely no clear. There's not much good about Alquang right now. His ult is one of the worst ults in the game, bar none. It never really gets off. People can cancel it with leaps. People can cancel it with CC. People can cancel it without relics, which is what you think you would need is relics, but that's not the case. So Alquang is just not in a fantastic position. I think would need some buffs. He needs a blue buff, but if you're picking him as a tank, your mage really needs that, and if he is your mage, doesn't bring too much to the table. Aphrodite, something that I thought was very strong for a while, haven't really seen in quite some time, but I still think super annoying to deal with. I would argue could move up to S tier, no doubt. Just if you're able to be kissed to an annoying tank that can one-shot people, not one-shot per se, but, you know, like an auto attack damage tank. Like, if you're an Afro kiss to an Achilles with an Ares in the back, or a Kuzenbo, just, you're never killing that Afro, and it would just be so annoying to deal with, or any sort of auto attacker. I think she's decent and definitely could be up here. even with counters like Odin Cage, things like that, I think she's still safe in that regard. So definitely could make the argument, but for now we're just gonna leave her an A. Apollo, just garbage. The ult is absolutely useless in Joust. If you're going up into the chariot, it's such a small map. You can simply just back, you can run away. He just brings nothing to the table. As a hunter, he's fine, right? Any hunter is going to be able to be just fine, but just brings nothing team fight ult-wise that you would really want. Arachne, I gotta say, brings... Man, this is tough. I think Arachne could very easily go to C tier as well. And in fact, I think I will put her there. With a organized team, there's no reason Arachne gets a solid engage. There's no reason that she drops her webs and runs at you, because you're going to have two tanks standing in front of you with CC. The mage will be able to provide a ton of burst damage, unless you're a pick like, I don't know, Outbosh, Anubis, unless you're very immobile. Arachne should not have any easy linear engage. There's some cheese strats with the webs, but besides that, not great. Ares, surprisingly, I am going to put into S. Usually sits about A+ or A, but given the fact that picks like AMC are available, picks like, right now Agni, but trust me, there will be more without CC immune ults up here. Ares can get you from gold to like diamond. If you have a decent Ares and just say, hey, this person doesn't have CC immunity, we are going to blink ult them every couple 90 seconds. You'll get free kills and free wins just off of that composition. Better teams know how to deal with it, but still, there's a lot of ways to get around it. And it's not even just the ult. The chains, the shackles are so annoying to deal with. Surprisingly, Artemis, I think, could make the jump to S tier. And she is pretty easy to dive early on, but you can play back. You can camp with your traps. She has a good matchup into a lot of the dive right now in the meta, and her ult is, you're always getting a triple Tusky. You're always getting a triple Boar. So I think definitely going to be pretty solid as a team fight hunter, and we'll be here. RDO, I have not seen in quite some time. There's an argument to be made that she goes here. But again, she's just not being played as far as I see. Atlas is being played so much more. The Ares is being played so much more. There's just a lot better Guardians to pick. So she's very solid, but I would not say running the meta. I'm not saying picking or banning every single match. I would not say that. Athena, I would also put here in A tier. Her ult, unlike Apollo, is pretty solid, where you can die, ult back in very quickly. You can find a way to back in the jungle, ult back in very quickly. If there's any chance where you're like, can we go for this tower? Can we go for Fire Giant, or do we have to back off? Athena can sort of just make that decision for you. And then the taunt is just such a great engage, right? She doesn't have that much damage, but if you pair her with double carry, I think she's very solid, and that's one of the strengths. Anyone that can stand alone as a single tank right now is going to get you a lot of value. Athena taunt, pretty linear engage, pretty easy to execute. Atlas, I have to bring here. Anyone who's been playing this meta knows exactly why. Just the prot shred does so much damage and is just able to dive the backline so easily. Usually a Guardian that doesn't get blink or isn't able to get blink because you're getting other relics is pretty bad, but Atlas is all the contrary. He's just able to set up so much. So, just dash in, pick up a carry, do it again in a couple seconds. He essentially brings the utility that Fenrir used to bring when he was like S+ tier, with having someone you can just focus down on like a 14-second cooldown. It's disgusting. He's so annoying to deal with if you're immobile. Wheelix, I actually am going to put to B. Not quite C tier, not that bad. Can win in some matchups if you can use her to counter out things like Bacchus or Hou-Yi, Uller. Picks that you can pull back in. I think brings a lot to the table just in those matchups. Anything else, just useless. Don't pick her. If you're going for a knockup based comp, just pick something else. If you're pulling strictly off of jumps, I think she can get value. Knockups are not the way to go. Baba Yaga, I'm gonna put her here. Usually I would say A tier, but Baba is crazy, man. You can build tanky with her. You can stack up Charon's coin for free, which is massive. Warlock Sash. If you haven't seen my video with her, I would recommend checking it out. Just a lot of damage, a lot of safety. As long as your 3 is not getting canceled out, there's a few matchups that really suck for her. Sobek comes to mind. Do not let Sobek through. I wouldn't let Sobek through anyways, but if you can cancel out her third ability, her pot, you don't get the cooldown, and it's super, super irritating. So Kumbhakarna as well. Anything, Kabrakan, things that can stun out her 3, but keep your distance. As long as you're using your potions to keep people in combat and don't let them close gap on you, you're gonna be just fine. Bacchus, we have not seen in quite some time either. I still think has the opportunity to do just as much as the other Guardians that are up in S tier, and I definitely think is better than Ardeo right now and Athena. Still impossible to kill. The mitigations that he gets from Chug and the power is just so annoying. Can really 1v1 any mage in the game right now early on, and if you build Spectral, you can probably 1v1 Hunters for quite some time as well. Late game, you get shredded, but every tank does. Just so safe, so much just easy engage with the belly flop. You're going to have a good time. Baka, farming is not that important. I have to put Baka here. A little bit better than Arachne probably, but you know, just because you can farm quickly does not really mean that your engage is good, and Baka's engage is not good. We've played Baka before on the channel. You know, search it up if you're interested. I'm not going to link it anywhere because I don't think people care that much. I've made him work, but you need a whole team comp to make him work, and he's still not great. Doesn't clear the wave at all. Baron, gotta be S tier. If anyone's S tier right now, it's Baron. Not even because he's that good. I think there's a lot of ways to deal with Baron. It's just everyone's picking Baron right now, man. I've been trying to get Baron videos, and it's like if I'm not first pick, if I'm first pick, it's getting banned. If I'm not first pick, they are first picking it without a doubt. Just so easy. The 3 is great CC. You have sustain for your whole squad. That second ability is going to set up so much, as well as life of the party, the coffin, the ultimate. Just so annoying to deal with if you are a character that has a linear engage like Bacchus, for example. Flop in, now you're getting pulled back in under my tower. You can camp with this character, you can build tanky, you can build damage, you can build hybrid. Just great in the meta. Surprisingly, I am going to put Bastet A. If you notice, the assassins that are going to be lower on in this list, they don't have much CC, right? Where Bakasura has the cripple goo, but that's about it. Awelix has the pull in if you're jumping or if you're knocked up. That's about it. Bastet can jump in, she can jump out, and then she can throw Huntress of Bast, that ultimate, and just have the range stun. She's really annoying to kill if you don't have something like an Ares that can stop her from jumping in and out and building hybrid. So Bastet, I think, is still a solid bet. Bellona, usually I would put lower just because her bludgeon is hard to get off, but because Hunters are decent right now, she's decent right now. She's solid. Build her very tanky until like the last 2 items, Frostbound, Kin Size. Go a War Flag, you're able to shred through tanks late game. Any auto attack warrior is going to have a decent time in the meta. Any warrior that's good in a double tank is going to have a decent time in the meta. So Bellona, Amma, Achilles all fill out that pretty well. Cabrakan. This is something that I will not be putting in S. I will not say running the meta. He is definitely good. In fact, he has the ability to go here, no doubt. I'm gonna think about this for a couple seconds. Has a good matchup into Baron, can wall off the suck, but also easy to kill. So no, I will not put him there. Also very easy to kill. Cabrakan's an easy target to focus out after his first ability is gone. He's pretty easy to kill. You gotta hold on to that. If you are, you're gonna be having a good time. Camazotz does not bring CC. I love the swooper. If you've been around my channel for a while, you know I love Camazotz. Brings good damage, brings sustain, safety, no CC. That's my issue right now. If you're noticing, again, the Bastet has some CC, can force speeds, that sort of thing. Camazotz is raw damage. You can certainly make him work, and that's what this means. He can win matchups. In fact, he can win really any matchup because if you're picking him just for raw damage, but has a rough time late game trying to out damage any sort of carries. And if you can't get to the mage in the backline, you're not getting the full value out of a pick like this. So I will put Kama there. Definitely could make the jump up to A. Remember what I say, not where he's placed. Still very good if you're hitting everything. Cerberus has fallen off so hard. I know Inbound, the support for the Scarabs, if you guys watch the Pro League, has said he's the worst Guardian in the game. I disagree with that, but still, in this game mode, you have Prot Tread on your Ghastly Breath, your second ability. You have a great stun, you have a great ultimate, and you have a jump to get in and out. You're always gonna get value out of Cerberus. I definitely think worse than the Guardians up here right now, but still, you're never gonna go wrong as long as you're able to hit that spit, the stun from Cerb. He has a ton of damage, and the free anti-heal is pretty solid as well. So I think I'm gonna safely put him there. Holy shit, why do I keep scrolling, man? Let's just sit here for a bit. Cern, A tier as well. Good CC, good carry ability. Just a solid hunter right now. Used to be a good counter into Medusa. You can root her or cripple her. It is a root, but it's a cripple as well with that second ability. You can dash through to try and cancel her dash if you need, or you can just use your ult to peel for your squad. Decent all the way through. doesn't have any real value over like an AMC, so I think it's going to be here, and we'll be just fine with that. You got to watch out for the Ares pick. Chalk is decent. Anti-heal kind of screws him over. He's an ability-based warrior, right? If he doesn't have an execute or doesn't have auto attack damage, you can build him auto attacky. But I think there's just better options right now. Bologna even does more than him, which is wild. I think Bologna's on the lower end of A tier, no doubt, and I think Chalk can't quite go up, even with the rain to slow auto attack damage, attack speed, you know, like ADCs. Still, I can't justify picking a Chalk right now, so I'm not gonna give my consent to letting him be A tier. But if you think he is, more power to you. Definitely try him out. I'm realizing that I'm trying to scroll here, and that's why I'm scrolling. This is Chang'e. You can't tell, but that's Chang'e, so do with that what you will. You know what? I'm actually gonna put her here. I love Chang'e. I've always put Chang'e very highly. Into double carry, Chang'e is insane. If you can blink ult and find both carries, she's nuts. However, if you are Chang'e into double tank, it gets a little bit more tricky. It's harder to get to the backline. If you're not 100 to 0ing that carry, you've essentially wasted your Waxing Moon, and then you die after the fact. She doesn't have too much sustained damage. It's more all or nothing. So into double carry, Chang'e's great. Into double tank, not so much. I still like her, and I will still play her into any matchup because I feel very confident on her, but I wouldn't try her personally. Charybdis is bad. Doesn't bring anything to the table. Her ult is so telegraphed and it's clunky. I wouldn't pick her. I honestly think she could be B tier just because she is a hunter. I'm gonna put Chernobog in that same spot. Great in Conquest. Global ults don't bring that much in Joust though. The lane is very small. These global ults don't bring anything to the table. You're not gonna fight, let a Chernobog back, and then fly back in. It's just not gonna happen. Chiron, however, is decent. I'm gonna put him B. If you build Shred, it's gonna be great. Into double carry, he's sick. If you can build like Bluestone Transcendence full damage, that's gonna be a great time. Into double tank, you have to build Shred, and that just means you don't have really an auto attack stim. Your late game is gonna be worse than the other ADCs we see up here. So into double carry, full ability damage, I think Chiron could be A. But if you're just talking about a raw Shred ADC, not gonna be your best option. Chronos, I think, could definitely be C tier, but because of his late game hard carry potential, has to go B. There's an opportunity to say, I'm going to put 2 tanks in front of me, I'm going to build Warlock Staff, and I'm going to farm out until level 20. That's certainly possible. Just wouldn't rely on it. I would pick any of these other mages first. I would never play Afro. You guys know me. I'm not cringe, but yeah, just not a great strategy to say I'm going to sit on my heels for a bit. Kalina is something that I haven't seen at all. I've actually found her very fun. She has great sustain. She can hide in the walls and be annoying. I have no idea where I'd put her. I think just because she's good, like blanket statement, Kalina good, I'll put her in A. I have no proof to back it up though. No one's playing her. Cthulhu was so sick, man. Cthulhu was so sick, and I want to put him S, but he has fallen off hard. I'll put him in A for now. I will put him in A for now. I wish he was better because his ult is great on this map. There is no running away from Cthulhu. But with ADCs being able to shred him down late game, with auto attack warriors being able to shred him down late game, he loses a little bit of value there. Still very good though. I don't think there's any problem with taking Cthulhu. Kukulkan with Glad Shield buffs is going to go up here to S tier. If you're able to make use of his rage form, you're going to have a solid time. There's no real bad things about Kukulkan. Just build a sovereignty, build a spectral armor if you need it, if you're up against ADC. Genji's guard is always solid. You can even go Shoguns and go Kinzas if you want auto attack damage. Just make use out of your transformation as much as possible. Great engage, great backline dive, all that sort of thing. Cupid I'm going to put in B. Does have good counter matchups into characters that don't like cripples. But besides that, just sprint out of his ult if you're having problems with Cupid. He's an ADC with that not that great of an ultimate. Daji, I actually think is going to be A. I would put her S. She has great matchups. Anyone without a CC immune ult, if you can hit the Palau shot, it's just a better Ares, right? She's simply a better Ares in that regard. But if you are, not the best with the ultimate, Ares is so much easier. and she's easier to punish as well if she uses her dash and her leap. It's called Trickster Spirit. Guys, I'm a caster. I know all the ability names. I know you guys probably don't. Not all of you. Some of you probably do. But I'm trying to make it as easy to understand as possible. Her third ability, if you use that in, pretty easy to capitalize on if she's not using it safely. So could make that jump to S. Danza. The rocket's not great. Has good CC, good carry ability. I still think other CC hunters are better. But, you know, keep your eye on the Danza, no doubt. I think no real issues with the pick. It's just the ult isn't as good as other ults on this list. And again, just a hunter. It's just a placeholder at this point. Disco, I'm going to put B. Certainly could go to A. In fact, I'm debating on putting her A anyways. You know, great CC, decent survivability. It's pretty easy to dive her more often than not because she just has a leap. But the passive is great. If you give it to your warrior can wreck house for a while. You pair Discordia with a Kukulkan, that Kukulkan is able to just dive so easily. Or a hunter if you are going to go double carry. So Disco, I think, definitely could make the jump to A tier. I haven't said anything bad about her. It's just there's better mages. Erlong, I'm actually going to put A. Has bad matchups into Ares or other characters with cripples, but can go auto attack, can build tanky. Lost the knockup, but if you are building tanky, doesn't really matter. I would prefer you build him tanky if you are going to pick an Erlong. Full ability damage Erlong. I mean, full auto attack damage Erlong, not the best. But hybrid, I still think can win in most matchups if you know, warriors are just good. Guardians, warriors, mages are all just good classes, and select hunters are also solid. Eset brings a lot to the table. I think a good Eset is certainly A tier, not quite S. Kind of bouncing between B and A, just because easy to focus her down. She doesn't have a leap, so she has to run the whole way back. But also just has a lot of CC. The lockdown on Eset is insane, and from ahead, it's hard to hide under a tower when a spirit ball can come in and just like half health you at any moment. So you have to watch out for the Eset. Fafnir, I think is just A tier. Always going to be a solid bet. Hunters are in the meta. Fafnir's in the meta. He has an attack speed stim. He's got a stun. That's going to be good. Fenrir gotta go to S, even though Fenrir is not being played too much at the moment. It's still just a great pick. You're able to force so much with that ultimate, and you're never really gonna have a bad time with a pick like Fenrir. So we're gonna leave that there. Now we're gonna think about what Freya. Ooh, Freya, no good. Freya takes a while to get online, not something you want to be picking right now. You don't want picks that take long to get online, just a worse Chronos in my mind, because Chronos at least has some CC and can help you get to that point. Freya, not going to be a good option. Ganesh, surprisingly, I have not seen too much at all. I think Ganesh is a great counter pick into a lot of the meta right now. Has a decent matchup into Atlas, Bacchus, a good tank counter. If you see something with a channeled ability, channeled CC, Atlas, Bacchus, Ares, all those picks. Ganesh is never going to be terrible. You can even go a beats pretty effectively and still have no issue there with the Ares ult. So I think Ganesh is always going to be a decent opportunity to counter out some of these tanks. Geb used to be S tier, has fallen off a little bit. I still think is great. The buff to Geb ult is still super sick. If you're blink engaging with Geb, I still think you have a lot of success with that. But there's other guardians that bring more CC easier, more damage easier, and just simply more damage. So Geb's going to be decent here, but you know, keep your eyes peeled for guardians like this. This is what you're looking for. Gilg has fallen off. Still going to be A tier, still very solid, but not quite as good as he used to be. Gilg used to certainly be S tier. He has taken nerf after nerf after nerf. If you've seen my video, he is like he's never been buffed before. Since release, he has been nerfed something like 8 or 9 times. So Gilgamesh, still decent, can still do everything that he used to, just not as well, doesn't carry as hard as some of these warriors. Guan, I'm going to put to S. I don't think he's running the meta, but I think he has the ability to, and that's why that parentheses is there. This is for slept on picks. Guan Yu is certainly slept on. There's plenty of mages right now that don't want to deal with Guan Yu, mainly Baron Samedi. Baron does not want to face Guan Yu. He can always dash the route, and then he just runs you down on the horse. He doesn't care about the coffin. He's going to shred your protections, steal them for himself. Guan Yu is sick. If you're not playing Guan right now, give him a try. Throw a Genji's guard, Glad Shield, any sort of cooldown, and then just start spamming. You can get 3 horses off a fight if you play right. So definitely take a look at Guan. Make sure you're holding those horses for good moments. Hachi, Hachi's decent. Could be A for sure. I think, yeah, I am gonna put him A actually. Doesn't have too much CC, but does bring just enough to keep him level until you really need to in the later stage of the game. So I think Hachi just very safe, and a safe ADC is a good ADC right now, as long as you're able to provide a little bit extra, a little bit more than things like the Danza, the Cupid. As long as you can make a bit more use out of that ultimate, I think it's gonna be just fine. Hades, I'll put B. Not great. You have to get very close to the wave to find any sort of kill. You're not farming to get Bumba's hammer. It's just not possible. So we're gonna leave Hades there for now. And yeah, Hebo S. I think there was a time when Hebo's running the meta, and I think that time is still among us. Among us. I'm gonna zoom out again. It's just Hebo kills one carry so easily, right? Hebo just simply kills one carry very easily. If that's what you're worried about, there's no problem. He can blink to the backline at level 12. Waiting till level 20 to get online, bad. Waiting till level 12 to get online, that's fine. Hebo does that very well, and I would certainly never have a problem with him on my team. Does have like 2 bad matchups into like Fenrir, for example, but usually you can deal with it. He doesn't like Uller either, so watch out for that. Heimdall, CC, safety, everything that I've been talking about. I haven't seen him played, to be honest with you. Not the best option. Anyone that gets beads kind of just dwarfs him. If you can use that beads effectively and avoid a lot of damage, you're gonna be just fine. So certainly watch out for that. But he's a hunter. Hunters are decent right now. Hel. Hel's got great matchups into things like Ares and Daji. Besides that, has terrible matchups into things like Bacchus and Sobek. And Guan, bit of a double-edged sword. I would say she's meh. Definitely can be played at S tier. Has the ability to run the meta, no doubt, but so much harder to execute on than any one of these other mages. So if we're just taking it at like, Paul's Hel, sure, could be S tier. Most people running this character are not playing at that level. I'm saying, could make the jump, but as of now, Hel's going to sit down there. Hera is going to go right there as well. Has a little bit more safety than things like Owlpwash and Owlkwong and Freya. Has a little bit more damage than them in the sense of like actual CC. Argus drop is pretty decent, but still not great. You're better off picking so many other things. Herc, I'm going to put A. I know I said that you have to be like an auto attack warrior to be good in this meta, but Herc, so annoying to deal with, man. If you get tanky enough with some Shield of Regrowth and you're good on your second and on the pulls on the Earthbreaker, you can get beads down for free so easily. And if you run the comp that I coined a while back with the Agni stun into the Herc pull, the 2-1, not the bomb one. The bomb one is too telegraphed. Everyone can avoid that. But the 2-1, you can set up onto everyone. You find a tank without beads, Agni 2-1, stun, pull in with Herc. Easy damage, easy kills all the time. I'll try to link that video if I remember, but always can be a good idea. Horus, decent right now. Certainly could be A tier. Has a lot of lockdown, but that's about it. Just like I was talking about, the global ult doesn't bring too much. It's a good disengage and it's a good chase. It's a better disengage than it is a chase because you're not often running against a Horus. Just doesn't have that much damage. Late game, you're a CC bot. You better hope your carry is doing enough because Horus is not providing that carry potential. But still fine. Ho Yi is definitely S. If you are going to pick a hunter, it's probably him or AMC. Just so much damage. The ult is always good to kill down tanks. You have 100 to 0 opportunity, 7 different ways on the Joust map right now with triple bounce. So I think Ho Yi's always going to be good. Anti-crit as well. So if you're up against another ADC, you're going to have a good time. Hoonbats, meh. Definitely meh. If you're making use out of the ultimate, fine. If it's Dave Hoonbats, S tier, easy. Me and Dave used to run Hoonbats a lot into much better comps and still win just because we were able to use that ult effectively. But, and if you're not able to kill off that ult, if there's 2 tanky targets that you can't blow up, you're wasting the Hoonbats ult and then he doesn't bring much to the table. Iza's bad. Iza's definitely bad. You could make the argument for B tier. Her ult's really useless and she takes way too long and she's so easy to kill. There's so many different ways to interrupt her from her invis. Like just any sort of channeled ability, any sort of dot damage. It's just not good. You could make the argument for B. In fact, I will, just because she's better than Chernobog and she's better than Apollo. But it's just not good. I wouldn't recommend playing her at all. Janice, I'll put B. If you play him like me, where you're playing safe at all times, just going for raw one shot and just being as slippery as possible, maybe getting a blink. I have a ton of Janus videos on the channel. Play like that, he's decent, but certainly not good. Certainly doesn't have raw burst damage like Hebo, for example, or it's not giving one of your carries death immunity. So certainly watch out for that. Jingwei, bad. Gets free crit, can fly back into lane, but just bad. I wouldn't recommend playing her. Yeah, I wouldn't play her. So yeah, definitely B. Yorm is actually good. I've seen a bit of Yorm recently. I love his damage. I love his survivability. His ult is actually really great. And I'm not saying it for the global presence, because I know I've been shitting on the global ults a lot. His ult's a get out of jail free card. You can walk up to fire, check it, try and steal away the spit, and then ult out if you need to. Just so tanky in the early. Against ADCs isn't great, but if you can just peel for your carries and just be annoying, I think you're going to get some value out of this pick. Kali surprisingly is very strong right now. With an ADC, with an auto attack assassin that doesn't crit or bring any sort of raw engage to the table, you'd think wouldn't be very good. But if you're able to protect this Kali, let her get online, she can blink kill mages even at like level 3. So she's not sitting on her heels until late game, like, you know, the Chronos, for example. And just get her target. She's able to hard carry games, no doubt. Khepri surprisingly is actually good too. I'm going to put him A. Can function pretty well as a solo tank, camp a little bit. As long as you're able to keep one of your carries alive, does decent damage. I would say Khepri brings the same that Horus does in the sense of a fair bit of CC. Can't really get blink on the Khepri, and you don't have that get out of jail free card, but the res is decent. So I will say very solid pick here. Not too many picks you have to worry about besides the Achilles with that execute. King Arthur is also actually pretty good right now. The A tier is being heavily populated. King Arthur's decent if you're able to cancel out his dashes. Has a terrible matchup into Ares. If you're making use of that and taking that away, you know, doesn't like the matchup into Kuzenbo either, just coming to mind off the top of my head. You gotta watch out for that. Besides that, King Arthur can dive the backline pretty easily. Falls off hard late game, but will get you ahead enough early. You can justify picking it, like Hercules, for example. So definitely look out for that. Cuckoo, I'm gonna put B. He's meh. If you're able to hit Spirit of the Nine Winds, the ultimate, pretty consistently on the carries, you're gonna have a good time. If you're able to get to late game, you can still kill the tanks. You're gonna have a good time. But so many easier abilities to hit. Agni brings CC and damage. You know, I've already talked about the Afro. Hebo brings crushing wave. You can easily hit 2 targets, whereas Cuckoo, I mean, it's a truck, man. You can see it come from a mile away. Kumba surprisingly very strong right now. If you compare it with a Scylla, with a Hebo, with anything with raw damage after the fact, you're gonna have a good time. Doesn't have much damage himself, but the amount of CC and the amount of shutdown for carries Kumba brings is super annoying to deal with, and I think he'll always have a decent place in the meta as long as that's the case. Kuzenbo is S tier. If you have not faced a good Kuzenbo, maybe you don't know why, but trust me, he is. Just blink, push someone through the wave, get their beads, half health them, even if you get the beads, pop your 2, you get another reset. The ultimate is decent for finishing people off or just retreating, and doesn't really care about hunters for quite some time, so always gonna be good. Loki, not great. I'm just gonna put him C. Yeah, there's no jungle to like hide in. Just not a good option. I wouldn't pick him. Medusa A. Her ultimate is insane. Her OA damage is insane. Her late date damage is insane. Her dash is easy to block. That's why she's not S. Mercury. I'm actually gonna put Merc B. I love Merc. Merc's ult is really solid. I play a ton of tank Mercury on my stream. If you're interested, I don't think I upload any videos of it because it's a stream game. It's kind of troll, but trust me, tank Merc is fun. Slow immunity, great ultimate, special delivery is a good setup. Do not build him full damage. This is not B because of full damage Merc. This is tanky Merc for setup. Merlin is actually going to be A. Very solid. It does a decent, actually a pretty minuscule amount of damage early. Late game though, Merlin pops off, and that's what you're picking him for. You can clear the wave though, and you can deny a lot of dive from the enemy team. You have a decent bit of CC in your purple stance, so try to utilize that as best you can. And just try to farm and get online. As long as you build Soul Reaver and an Ob Shard, maybe a Divine Ruin, you should be just fine. Morgan the Fae also going to be A. Has a lot of CC, good damage, decent survivability, and self-peel. All things that you want right now in the meta. Just a great mage. All the mages that you do see here are gonna just be a good time to pick. Mulan has fallen off, but I still think brings a ton. If you can level up your abilities quickly, her third ability, once you can use that as an escape, she's a lot safer, but just does insane amount of damage. She can solo mages at like level 9 so easily. Her second ability, if you max that, just half health. It's disgusting. I would keep your eye on her for sure. There's better options, but that's how a tier list works. Anything above her is going to be better. Anything below is going to be worse. So keep your eye on Mulan. Definitely brings a fair bit of sustained damage and can be a good time. Naja, I'm still going to put as S. We have not seen Naja in quite some time, and I don't know why. Being able to take someone out of the fight is such a good opportunity. As long as you're getting beads down, you should not be forcing beads. Let me be clear. On this Naja pick, you don't want to be the one getting the beads down. You want to be sitting back and letting your team get beads down, and then you will use that ult on targets with no beads. If you're trying to bait out someone and trying to ult them with their beads up, it's not going to work more often than not. If you're in a good matchup, they'll just beads it every time. But if someone else is getting beads, if you pair with like a Kuzenbo or something, then you just get free ults, take someone out of the fight. Easy setup. Doesn't matter if you have relics. You can blow them up with any of these mages before they get a chance to fight. So Naja has the ability to run the meta, even though we haven't seen him pick too much. Neith, I'm going to put B. Decent damage, decent setup. The ult is kind of useful if you're, hiding in the jungle or anything. Just an all-around good hunter. Nem is actually sick. We haven't seen too much Nemesis. I play Nemesis a fair bit. Build her a little hybrid, shreds through some protections, things like that. Nem brings a lot to the table in a double tank. Has decent clear as well, survivability. The shield's good. Keep your eye on Nemesis for sure. I did a video a while back because she was one of the worst win rate gods in ranked Joust at the time, and then I got her to a diamond board like 22-0 just to prove how good she was, and I think people like those videos, so maybe I'll start playing them again, but definitely gonna be a solid pick. Nike does not have a good time. Sunder is still a thing. Brings decent damage, decent peel. Her health shield's annoying, but late game just gets absolutely shredded. Doesn't do enough damage, and Sunder just destroys her shield. Nox is on the rise. I've been playing a ton of Nox. If you haven't seen the videos, definitely check them out. A great counter to Ares, Atlas, Bacchus. Decent into Guan. Tank Nox, by the way. This is not damage Nox. Just build her hybrid. If you're able to use her ultimate onto characters with big telegraphed ults, for example, like the Baba Yaga. Ult her right when she goes into the house, she's doing 30% less damage. Trust me, it's a lot. Ult the Guan Yu on the horse. Ult the Bear Insomnia as he's about to ult. Or just silence out and just, that sort of thing. It's going to be super annoying to deal with. If you can hit your abilities on Nox, you're going to have a good time. Nu Wa, I am going to put in B. Has better damage and better burst than most of the mages in C, and is decently survivable. Definitely not great. Definitely meh, the definition of meh. But I can see a value in Nu Wa over some of these other picks. Odin, I'm going to put A. Decent CC, decent survivability, decent damage, and then the cage just counters, some of the picks you see at the top. Hebo hates the cage, Baron hates the cage, AMC hates the cage. You can break it late game with attack speed, but just you have to be very mindful of that. If you are getting Phantom Shell, Odin gets a lot less value, but you're forced into a specific relic that doesn't bring that much. So that's my reasoning behind that. It is very solid, but I personally wouldn't pick him too much. Has bad matchups into things like Ares and Nox, being that if you jump, you just get silenced out. It's so annoying to deal with. You don't want to be forced into beads as an Odin because you want blink, so just watch out for that. Olorun, I'm gonna put A. Usually Olorun, the one of the few magical ADCs that is solid right now. The ult is nuts if you can make use of that and only fight with that ultimate, which you can. It's a Joust map. You can back up and say, hey, we're gonna show face towards Fire Giant and just stall out every time my ult's down. You should be able to be just fine. The reason he's not S tier, takes a bit to get online, and also that ultimate, if it does get forced out, you're gonna lose a lot of value. Osiris is S for sure. One of the few warriors that doesn't have like a gimmick, like he can build damage, he can build just completely tanky, or he can blink hybrid or auto tech based. Just very tanky, very annoying in the back line. You're not having a good time into an Osiris right now. The tether is also super annoying into those telegraphed abilities like I was talking about. A lot of people don't know this, but it makes you do less damage when you're tethered. So if you just wait for like a Scylla ult and you tether, she's just doing less damage. You're gonna have a good time if you have an Osiris on your team. Pele, I would definitely put... And see, just not good. I mean, she just doesn't do enough damage. She gets nuked. Hybrid, she doesn't do enough damage. Full tank, she doesn't do enough damage. Full damage, she doesn't live enough. So just in a bad spot right now. Would not recommend picking her. There's better picks. Persephone, I'm going to put A. Some of you might be surprised that she's not S tier. I've never thought Persephone was S tier ever since she got reworked. Just doesn't bring the same amount of burst damage. Her 1 is super easy to juke. Her 2-3 combo, if she's ever using aggressively, she should be dying. So if you see a Persephone dash, just go kill her. I wouldn't recommend playing the Persephone unless you're really good on her. One of those picks that's harder to make use of, but definitely has a lot of damage to bring. Poseidon is going to be B. Definitely close to A. The only issue, he's not A. Like picks like Agni, picks like Merlin, they have a rough matchup into the Ares as well. But Poseidon, if your Kraken gets Aegis, you're not bringing too much to the fight anymore, and you're also not that survivable. You don't have an escape. Merlin can go over the blue buff. Agni has a very long range dash. Poseidon just zooms, and so pretty easy to hit with other mage abilities. So you gotta watch out for that. Still decent, still viable, I would say, but you just gotta watch out for that. Ra is gonna go on that same talk. Anti-heal is so prevalent right now. Has decent damage, has good burst, doesn't appreciate double tank. As long as you're hitting those ults consistently, pair it with a Kumba or something, and just blowing up the one mage on the enemy team or the one hunter on the enemy team, yeah, you can certainly find some value, but other mages just do it so much better. Raijin, I actually think is A, and is extremely slept on. Raijin's not being played right now either, but could be for certain. You have great early clear. Your team fight ultimate is insane, but your survivability is not the best, and the fact that Thundergrash gets canceled out more often than not. So watch out for that. Keep your beads handy, and I think Raijin is still certainly good. Rama is going to go down to B, a good safe hunter with no CC. That's where they probably belong. The snipes aren't doing much damage late game, unless you're heading on to a carry. I know Dave played it a fair bit, but not your best option. Rat is fine. The ultimate is not that great. You know, you're not catching anyone off guard with the rat ult. They're going to see you coming from a mile away, but that's not always a bad thing. You know, you have to close gap to initiate with rat. So you're either blinking in, ulting in, dashing in. If you're dashing in, you're probably dying. But if you get ahead, you can certainly snowball with him. Not terrible, but not great. Robin, in that same topic of conversation, a decent counter pick into big burst mages like Scylla, like Hebo, like what's the other one? Poseidon. But even Hebo can just save the water spout after your overhead kicks down and ult you. Then you're not gonna have a good time. Doesn't do enough damage. Is never tanky enough. There's no way to build him to do all those things. Scylla is S. Always keep your eye on Scylla. If you have a good Scylla on your team, there's no reason not to pick her. Quite literally no reason not to pick her. Decent early game, fantastic late game. I say decent, you know, you can clear the wave. That's what you're looking for with a Scylla, right? Clear the wave, install. So much CC once you upgrade Sikkim to level 9. I mean, once you... it's actually at level 12. Whenever you can upgrade your first ability to level 5 and get the AoE, it's just so good. You're one of the best escapes, one of the best mage escapes in the game as well. The Scylla's always going to be on top of the meta. So Ket has fallen off. She used to be decent, but her clear sucks. And she can't build tanky and do damage anymore. So gonna go down to B tier. Wouldn't recommend picking her. Not a great option. Set is A. Set is decent as well. I would say Set is... as long as you're able to all in and use your abilities effectively, you can carry a game. Set could be S. I think Set is extremely slept on, but anti-heal is always an issue. Curse Slunk is always an issue. You have to watch out for that. Besides that, you're gonna have a good time if you pick Set and use him effectively. Very difficult to use to that level. Shiva has fallen off. Definitely used to be S tier, but doesn't do enough damage. Has a ton of CC, and I think the characters with a ton of CC and not a lot of damage, the warriors I'm saying, belong in this A tier. Certainly pickable, as long as you pair them with a mage that can carry, like a soul, for example, and then a guardian that's got CC as well, or like Prot Shred. You're gonna be just fine. There's no issue with picking the Shiva, but doesn't have that late game carry potential. You can't build a kin size on the Shiva and like shred through people. You could build a Heartseeker, and that's not terrible, but you need some form of late game damage if you're picking Shiva, because he's just like a CC and heal bot at that point. Skadi, trash. I can't even make the argument that she's better than Neith, so I won't. I'm putting her to C. Don't pick Skadi. She's annoying and she's bad. I don't need to make the argument for it. Sobek is one of the best characters in the game. I'm going to put him up here for that reason. In Conquest, when Sobek plucks in, usually he dies. In Joust, there's not enough damage to kill the Sobek if he plucks in. So you can pluck in, get beads, and then continue that. Or at level 3, you can just pluck in, get red buff, go to blue, invade that, take mid camps, and then go and get your own blue buff because Sobek brings too much pressure, and you've won the game. You're level 5 when they're just hitting 4, which is an insane power spike, and you can keep doing that. Never let Sobek through if you're not first pick. There's a few decent matchups. I like the Vulcan turret to block the pluck. That's always fun. But there's absolutely no reason I can think of that you're letting Sobek through. Very easy to play, very strong. Soul, I think is S as well. A lot of people might disagree with me. Think she fell off. Gilded Arrow got nerfed, so is she still good? Yes. Auto attack damage, insane. Burst, insane. Survivability, decent. Sustain, insane. She's just good. Soul is safe and does damage. She can be your auto attack damage carry if you need. You can also build her bursty. So if you want to go a very tanky warrior and a very tanky guardian, she can be that ADC for you. She can apply auto attack damage. She can do fire giant. She can get towers. Soul is very strong. If you don't think so, try her out. Definitely better than... you might think it's a hot take, but she's better than Persephone. I don't care what anyone says. She is. The ultimate is not... Persephone's ultimate does not warrant how much auto attack damage Soul has. And call me wrong in the comments. Wukong B just doesn't do enough damage. He's survivable, you know. He can do a fair bit of it, but just not enough damage there. I don't think to warrant being picked. So he's fine, I suppose. I'm waiting to see. I don't want to click anything and mess this up because I'm going well. Susano dies very easily if you can build him tanky. Doesn't do enough damage. If you build him damage, doesn't live long enough. But fine, a decent counter pick into, you know, immobile mages if you want to kill them. Like if you see, I don't know, a Merlin pick, you can blink to the back, land him with a 3, and then always kill him. But the issue is that the kill after the fact. If you pick Susano, make sure Ares is banned away because he is not going to have a good time. Vanus, one of the few guardians that will be in B tier. His engage is just not good enough. You know, the route into the pole is all well and good, but there's a lot of movement abilities you can use to get out of that. The blink ult is fine, but there's so much knockup immunity in the game, and he does not do damage at all. I wouldn't recommend picking Vanus over any of the guardians above him, but if you're really good at the poles, you can certainly have some fun. Terra is slept on. I'm going to put her A. Terra has a lot of CC. She's got good sustain. She's got great damage. She has good matchups into things like the Hebo, that their peel is essentially a knockup that she can just not care about. And then she always gets a root and always gets the beads down. Also has some bad matchups into things like Scylla or Naja. Anyone that can silence or cancel out her dash so that she doesn't get a second one is always going to have a good time. Uller as well comes to mind. She puts her 3 down, then she dashes into it. Just cut her off before she gets there. She doesn't get a second dash, and she doesn't get the root. It's not great. Thanatos is bad. No reason to pick a Thanatos right now. If you're not, even if you're hitting every single scythe, there's still better picks. The execute's not that great. You can make him work, but I wouldn't recommend it. Pick something else. And if you do want to play Thana, build him full damage and blink it on the carries if it's double carry. And if it's double tank, I mean, you better go hybrid and hope you make it to late game because early is going to be rough. The Morgan is A. It depends on what your transformation you have, but because you can pick your teammates in ranked joust, you can pick the 2 people you're with, you can always have a decent transformation. Double Achilles, double Fenrir, double Ho Yi even. There's so many different options you can go for. Play around her ult, do more, make sure you're moving around very effectively, and you'll have a decent time there. Thor is god awful. Actually, he's not terrible. He's here. He's not as bad as Loki because Thor has poke. He's not as bad as Pele because Thor doesn't have to all in. Pele has to all in. Arachne just can't get in. Yeah, so I think Thor gets the argument to be here. Thanatos, you can build Thor tanky, and that's why he's here. Thanatos building tanky doesn't work out as much because he just never really feels that solid with building tank. You really want the damage on Than, whereas Thor can go hybrid with Glad Shield and can nuke some carries. He still beats you though, not great. Thoth, I'm gonna put S. I don't think Thoth is particularly S tier, but how many times have I solo queued a game and someone has bitched and moaned to me that I didn't ban Thoth? Just tells me that you guys cannot accept that Thoth is easily counterable. So I'll put him here. I don't think he deserves to be here. He's got crazy amounts of damage. And if you're letting Thoth through, you're accepting the fact that you are counterpicking him, which is something that not all of these picks can bring, right? Where, oh, we let Atlas through. Oh, well, we'll just play into it. If you're letting Thoth through, you're essentially saying, hey, our mage is always going to get outranged and be in range of death. And or we're picking Ares Daji, we're picking full dive, and we are destroying this Thoth. Both are viable options. Just make sure you're aware of that when going in. Me and Barty let Thoth through every time because we know how to deal with him. We know how to say, hey, we're just going to go Daji, and Thoth has negative peel for that. But if you are playing Thoth, which I pick Thoth in anything, I know that my ability to stay alive and peel and do damage is fine. I still think he's A, but I'll put him here because you guys are mean. Tiamat's definitely A. Just a great safe pick, lots of damage, able to build tanky, able to build hybrid, still can make use of Soul Reaver and Obshard and just, you know, be able to blow people up as well. Not quite S tier, but definitely solid. Doesn't have the burst damage that a Thoth, Soul, Scylla, or Hebo can bring, but still good. And, you know, Baba can get free stacks. That's why she's here. Tsukuyomi can Tsuku blow me because he's bad. Great poke. I love Tsukuyomi's poke. His ult is an all-in button, right? You better be going in to get a kill or not going in at all. Into double carry, I think he's actually worse because then there's two people with Aegis you have to deal with, and towers are buffed. Towers do a ton of damage. You have to watch out for that because they will kill you if you're diving them. So your engage has to be all or nothing. But if you're fine with that, then Tsukuyomi is not terrible. Tyr is terrible, however. I'm going to put him in B. Almost C tier. I love Tyr. You've seen I've uploaded so much Tyr, but if you're not able to make use out of his pull into people, like there's warriors that are just CC bots. You know, Shiva comes to mind. He also has AoE healing for your team. Tyr doesn't have enough damage to be considered a damage dealer, so he's just pushing people in, and you have to blink behind them or ult behind them to make use of that. I've already said Aokwang is the worst ult in the game. Tyr's right there, probably second worst. They just don't get much value out of it. Ullr, I think, is A. Has decent matchups into a lot of these immobile mages, but also hates facing Ares, hates facing the Daji. Anyone that can pull him in consistently is going to be a rough time, but if you can stay safe and just continuously hit your abilities, Ullr's always going to be a decent pick. Vamana is surprisingly A tier. With Kurstonk being as good as it is, you'd think he'd be worse, but most people don't know how to deal with him. And if you can just farm up, like go 2 tank items and then a hastened, you can kill just about any mage in the game. Like it's pretty easy to be able to still dive tower because people aren't rushing anti-heal right now. They want to get like a warlock staff online, things like that. I have found a lot of free dubs by picking Vamana into immobile mages and simply killing them whenever I wanted. Vulcan is really bad. One of my favorite picks, has such a high win rate, like almost 100% win rate on Vulcan, but the Cripple's hurt him so much. His ult is extremely telegraphed. Just not going to be a fantastic pick ever, but always decent matchups. Like I said, the Ullr, the Sobek being able to block the axe and the pluck with the turret is always fun, but just doesn't bring too much to the table. X-Ball's B. If you can make use out of the Transcendence Atalanta's boat build, he'll be fine. His ult's fine. Just doesn't have any CC and takes a bit to come online. There's better hunters. I don't think I have to explain that one too much. Xing Chen is an S tier pick. Hunters are decent, which means Xing Chen is decent. Auto attack mages like Soul are decent, so you know Xing Chen's decent. He's got CC, he's got survivability, he's got damage, and he has auto attack, damage, debuff. His one makes sure autos do less damage. Okay, that's good. So Xing Chen is fine. Forcing out beads, not using your ultimate, also great. His second ability forces beads, so that his ult can pull you back in. Xing Chen is great. Yamoja also going to be S tier. As long as her kit is the way it is, she's great. If you can hit the Riptides consistently, she's fantastic. Her ult is great on this map. You can just turn it a little bit and trap people in. You can force out their leaps with the Riptide and then catch them after the fact, and just a lot of sustain. So Yamoja's always going to be very solid. Mir's actually A. Great engage, easy to use. His survivability is the only issue, but with his wall, you can usually set up for yourself to get out. There's an argument to be made that he's B. He brings more damage than Kumba, but he also is easier to kill than Kumba. I'll keep that one by the wayside for a second, but I think Ymir has great matchups. Yu Huang, I'm going to say, is A. I'm a big Big fan of Yu Huang. I definitely think the highest skill ceiling mage in Smite, despite what your comments might have said on that video. He's being played in the Pro League for a reason, to varying levels of the success, because not everyone has mastered him yet. His ultimate, if you can make use out of it, fantastic. He's got a get out of jail free card in his 3. His only issue is that he doesn't have that much burst until his ultimate, so you gotta farm up and wait for that. Zeus is B. I think is always going to have insane amount of damage, and if you can protect the Zeus, you can win just about anything, but it's so hard to protect the Zeus. How is Zeus staying alive when he gets blinked on by an Ares, gets pulled in, you beat that, a Hebo blinks in after the fact? There's just a lot that it takes to keep a Zeus alive, but if you can protect him, you can certainly win games. And last but not least, Shang-Kui. Let's go A. Great team fight damage. You can build him hybrid. You can blink and just go in. You'll always be hitting everyone with your ghost because the map is so condensed. And it's just Zhong, man. He's the hidden gem. He always will be for me. I'm just a big fan of the genre. So here's the full list in its entirety. I'm not going to rank Lancelot because he's not available in rank just yet. If I had to guess, I would put him A for right now. I'll put a text box in at the beginning saying I'm not ranking him. But if I had to place him just off the top of my head, I haven't played him enough. I'd say he's A tier. That's just off the top of my head. So now we're going to zoom out so I can get a final look at what we got here. And that's the completed tier list. So if you guys enjoyed that, certainly leave a like and let me know in the comments below what you agree, disagree with, anything like that. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, it's been Trelly, guys. Peace.